Hey everyone, I think we're live, and welcome to another episode of Crypto Marketing Insights with me, Yasha, your host. Just a reminder, this is not a financial advice show. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not a show telling you what to invest in or about specific investments to make. I am a marketer, and I talk about marketing. And I talk about marketing and its impact on crypto. So yeah, if you're doing investment research, by all means, you can probably find a lot of information in here that may be useful to you. But of course, do your own research. This show is really for entertainment purposes only. And these are my opinions. Yeah, so be responsible for your own investment advice and investments. I got to make that disclaimer shorter, people. To people in the lounge. Somebody in the lounge, please write a shorter version of that. If you're joining us on YouTube, welcome and hello. Say hi if you want. If you're watching a rerun, feel free to leave a comment. We love those, absolutely, very much. And of course, subscribe if you want to get future videos sent to you automatically, and hit that notification bell icon if you want to see videos as they come up. So there's a lot to talk about today that's happening in the market. As I'm sure you all are aware, the markets are up. Pretty much crypto is still pushing ahead, has broken through the 5250 resistance line that had been quite a challenge for a long time. And it seems that now we've broken through it, at least as of this past few hours. And Ethereum is also riding higher, sitting at $182.11. And XRP is at 36 cents. It was actually, last I looked at it, maybe 10 hours ago, it was 36.9 cents it even reached, but it's at 36 cents, comfortably higher than it was at the start of this bull run by about 20%. Maybe growing a little slower than the others, but still growing. And Bitcoin Cash is up 314, so people are speculating it might even hit $400 by the end of the week. Make of that what you will. Litecoin is at 89.95, down a little from yesterday, where it was in the mid-90s, and it was actually still above 90 a few hours ago, even 2 hours ago, and it's just dropped a little bit in the recent hours. And we're seeing EOS sitting comfortably at $5.49, up nicely from the beginning of the week, actually. And also Binance Coin, even though it's taken a little dip, it's at 1875. Think about how much higher it has come in the past few months. So if you've been holding Binance Coin since last year, good for you. You've done well, probably. I hope. Stellar, if you've got any Stellar has been doing nicely. Look at that, 13.39 cents. That's been a little while. There you go. Stellar's on the move. And Cardano flattened out in the last few days, but did have a nice run and is sitting now at 8.9 cents. For those who remember, just a few months ago, Cardano was sitting at about 2 cents even. I mean, it was really low. So there you go. They've already more than quadrupled in that. So if you're holding that, good for you. Tether, well, Tether's Tether. And look at that, it's holding right there at $1.01. But there's a lot of volume on Tether, right? That's the whole point, a lot of action there. And you can see there, so now, there are other coins real close to the top there. Tron, Bitcoin SV, Monero, Dash. I find, well, I don't even want to talk about it, but I find that there are some coins that get a remarkable amount of exposure and coverage and action in the most interesting ways. And a lot of it really is PR, and it's not always good, but it's still PR. And there's no such, there's no bad news, right, from one perspective, right, from the extremist kind of perspective. It's always better to be in the paper than not in the paper, regardless of whether it's for good reasons or bad reasons. There are some people who ascribe to that. I personally think it's better to be in the paper for good reasons. But, everybody makes their own choices, and what can you do? This is, after all, the blockchain ecosystem, where it's freer than most and still unregulated. So, yeah, or at least largely unregulated. But we can see a lot of action here happening with a lot of interesting coins and a lot of interesting projects. You know, they're not all up, obviously. It's a mixed market. There's thousands of coin. You're never going to have every single coin going up. Even look at that. Dogecoin down slightly, 0.31%. I only mention that because Dogecoin is widely considered to be a coin. Well, not, I mean, just it was pumping about 16 hours ahead of Bitcoin in the last bull run. And prior to that, it was Litecoin, right? So the question is Litecoin and is Bitcoin, are those two coins really leading the charge? Or are the smaller coins in the altcoin area like Dogecoin and others making pushes that are actually driving prices up? You can see Qtum also had a strong week overall. And a lot of coins in the past few months. Ravencoin has had some serious growth in the last few months over time with their price action. So the question is, are any of these coins in particular the reason why this is happening? I saw this funny little meme on the Reddit. Thought I'd show it. It's the Dogecoin icon. If you don't know who that dog is, look it up. And just the meme just says, "Did Doge do this?" I guess insinuating the recent pump. But I thought that was humorous. The point is, it could be that there are in fact altcoins at play, right? And not just altcoins, but also some significant ones like Litecoin, which, whether you think it has a future or is technologically important or anything like that, is not really the issue. Litecoin is one of the coins with the longest legacy, close relationship with the Bitcoin core developers and the whole community of Bitcoin. And, it was really the first sort of strong Bitcoin fork, right? Created for support reasons for Bitcoin and this and that. That all aside the point, it still has a high market cap relatively and is one of the top 5. In fact, I think it's number 4 right now, right? Right? Is that right? Are we looking at coin market cap? Where'd you go? Did we see that? Yep, number 5. Okay, number 5. So, yeah, whatever. It slipped down past Bitcoin in the last hours or so. But it's still a top 5 coin, and it's been around for a long, long time. And it has been leading the charge. If you look at the charts, I'm not a technical analyst. I'm not going to go over all the details. I'm not going to point all the little triangles and wedges. I'm here to really talk about how all of this has an impact on marketing and how marketing has an impact on this, because it does. And what are some of the ways that these altcoins are affecting the market? And is that good for Bitcoin? Is that good for Litecoin? Is that good for leading other projects, Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, whatever? Are those projects long-term beneficial to the ecosystem? And is what's going on right now a reaction to their price action, right? Specific, like a very small number of coins, are they leading the charge? Well, there's a good analysis here. I'm not going to go through, like I said, all the action on the charts themselves, because we don't do that. But you can see an increasing number, right, of coverage talking about things like price action, right? This is obviously a Bitcoinist, so they do talk about this stuff a lot. But the language, right? We're seeing a lot of bullishness and FOMO, right there. We're seeing comparisons to Bitcoin, right, that are different from the comparisons we've seen in the last year. We're seeing bullish writing about Litecoin. Okay, we're seeing more emphasis put on the Litecoin halvening, right? There are a number of factors why we're seeing Litecoin's price go up and the ecosystem go up. And one of them, absolutely, is the language people use when they write about it, right? So this is the time, again, that hopefully you've been making as a marketer, the movements in the past year to build and grab land. And now you're at the point where you can basically start doing your acquisition work unhindered. That's the word. Don't do it unhinged, please. Unhindered. And start making your gains according to your strategy and your tactics, right? This is the time to be doing that aggressive growth. And you see it in the language. So the media is rapidly jumping to that. But here's the thing. As somebody who watches the market, right, from a marketing perspective, but still you have to watch the markets to know what's going on. There's a likelihood, based on what all the leading technical analysts and everybody else with an opinion have said, that there's a high likelihood that we're going to see a huge dip before we see a permanent rise above the 3,000 mark, and then the 5,000 mark, and then the 6,000 mark, and then see you later. We'll probably never dip below 6,000 again after that in Bitcoin. That's the talk. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that's what people like, Crown's Crypto Cave, Bob Lucas, anyone, Crypto Zombie. Well, he talks about what other people are saying also, but Crown's Crypto Cave and Bob Lucas are two perfect examples of actual market analysts. The Moon, right? If you watch any of these people on YouTube, you'll see that they're making statements about the markets that they're analyzing, right? With TA. I'm sure you can find others that you like or think are better, or maybe you think those ones that I named are bad. I don't know, whatever. But those are three that I think are pretty prominent at the moment on YouTube and seem to analyze. They seem to make pretty good calls, right? However you want to look at that, right? Their cautious take on the market, which is well placed and well measured, right, is becoming, let's just say, something people are searching more for, which is an indication of people growing an interest in the searches, right? You're seeing their communities grow because people are taking an interest in that. So that's good, but obviously trading will never be, we're not talking about the growth of technical analyst channels. I hope they all grow terrifically huge and have amazing audiences forever. But we're talking about the real market, right, which is not people looking at charts all day. And whether or not things like adoption are going to happen beyond just the trading aspect, right? Because trading is one aspect of adoption, but clearly a currency should, in theory, be useful for more than just trading. It doesn't have to be, but if it's going to really have global impact, then it's got to be more than just trading on a market. Otherwise, unless every single person is globally is trading, it doesn't really have global impact. But the point of this, as I get sidetracked, is that there are a lot of leading reasons why we're seeing these increased prices in Litecoin, right? And everybody, the whole point about it, speaking about those other YouTubers, to say that they have all been suggesting we are going to see there is a possibility we will see a dump. They're not saying we will. They're saying we will. So there's a possibility we're going to see a dump, and then it'll rise again. And the more mature approach to the next cycle of growth is going to be a more conservative growth scale and not a hyperbolic scale. And then you have, ironically enough, old school investment bankers, etc., talking about how the next hyperbolic wave is actually about to start, and we're going to jump up really soon. In a hyperbolic, like as we saw in the second half of 2017, basically, right? Well, I think that would be a very bad thing to happen for crypto, and I think the only people that want that to happen are, people who want money fast, which could be anybody for any reason, and that's fine. and people who don't really want crypto to succeed. Because if it takes another hyperbolic jump and then crashes another 90% again, if it goes to 300,000 and then drops back to 30, people are going to be pretty upset again. It keeps doing that every 3 years. I mean, if they're smart, they wouldn't be upset. They'd invest now, and then when it goes to 300, they sell, and then when it comes back to 30, they buy more. But I think to keep spiking it and crashing it is something that really serves the interest of big bag holders, whales, and people who don't want crypto to succeed at an institutional level, like governments and massive banks and etc. They don't want to have to deal with this other thing necessarily, especially if they don't control it. And that's why they're fighting so hard to control it. But ultimately, a lot of them realize they can't really control all of it, right? It's just not going to be possible. Some of it will always live beyond their jurisdiction. And those that exist only beyond their jurisdiction, while they may not have the biggest market cap in the end, they will still survive as strong alternatives to whatever can be controlled by whatever businesses and politicians are trying to do, right? There is a strong movement for decentralized currencies that no government and no company controls. And there's also a strong movement for the opposite. And the question is, which will be the winner? My answer is, I think both are going to come out with strong players. There will be strong centralized cryptocurrencies that are not really what we think of as decentralized cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, right? That's still, Bitcoin and Litecoin. Well, Bitcoin definitely is, and Litecoin, a real decentralized cryptocurrency, right? Litecoin less so, because the founder is still, we know who the founder is, and he's basically, back at running it and everything else. So it's not really, it is decentralized, but it has a different approach, and that's fine. And Bitcoin has, this glorious romantic approach of this guy named this identity known as Satoshi Nakamoto. I think that's the new word for it. He's just the identity of Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin, and there is no such person that we know of around today to run it, or who has any interest in running it, or if he or she is even alive, or if that group of people is even alive, or if that whatever it was that made it is even existing. We don't know. But it is decentralized, right? It runs purely on math, and similarly to Litecoin. In that sense, it's similar. Litecoin is a pure fork of Bitcoin launched into the universe and running on a decentralized network. But Bitcoin is obviously the big brand. So when we see a movement for decentralized currencies at that level, it's a social change, much more than it's just a change in which currency I'm going to keep in my wallet and what kind of wallet I'm going to have. Does it have to have cash and coins in it, or does it have to have pieces of paper with secret phrases on them, or is it a cold wallet, or is it, what am I using? It's more than that. It's the cultural difference, right, between shifting power from centralized authority, basically the power of the gun, to individuals, right? Just like the internet did that with information. It freed information from public libraries and books that only people who could afford to buy them could get, to information everywhere for anyone, period, right? Of course, it's not like that yet. 100% of the world does not have internet access for free, etc. But consider how many people on Earth do have. So there are 7 billion smartphones, internet-connected smartphones, or internet-capable smartphones on the market. Not everyone, of course, has internet access on their phone. But think about how, there is more than an internet device for every person on this planet. Not everyone has access, but the overwhelming majority will soon have access. And hopefully we'll have ubiquitous access at some point. But of course, as long as there are, brutal regimes like North Korea that don't allow people to have the internet, well, there's an entire nation of people that don't have the internet, right? And there are others where coverage is not good, and most people just don't have it, even if they're open to the idea. They just can't afford it or whatever. But that's being worked on, right? And the internet gave everybody basically, except for the minority that need to be, or except for the, sorry, not the minority, except for all of the people that still aren't on it, it did give billions of people already access to information. And cryptocurrency gives billions of people already who have access to the information network access to cryptocurrency, right? And that's the thing. You can onboard into crypto very easily, right? There are projects out there that let people onboard. You don't need to buy in at an ICO or an IEO or an STO. You don't need to get into any of those. You can just literally log into one of these exchanges and just start buying coins. And if you're not into going onto exchanges and you don't know what you're doing, you can also go on, you can read on their official project websites. Like on Dogecoin, they have links to faucets on their websites. I mean, go figure. But then they say that they're not officially partnered with them, but they've kind of vetted them and they say they're okay, but they're not responsible. But still, they're basically marketing someone else's faucet, giving away their coins on their official website. So people can literally go and get free cryptocurrency. You can go whether you love them or not, you can go onto Bitcoin Cash's website, which is weirdly enough, bitcoin.com, right? The site of Bitcoin Cash, that Roger Vera, I believe, is the CEO of, right? And one of the big bag holders, right? He's the big bag holder of BCH, everybody knows. But he will literally give you free Bitcoin Cash just for asking, just to try it out. I mean, it's, I think it's like 5 cents worth or something, but it's whatever it is. There are people giving away bits and pieces of crypto to anyone who wants to try it as like samplers. Like when you go to the supermarket, you get a little sample to try it. Do you like it? Here's a box. Would you like more? And that's essentially what they're doing, right? And many projects are doing this. What airdrops are all about, right? People are going and grabbing free tokens. Why? Because they want free money. They're not getting a lot from these airdrops, but they're getting enough that it's worthwhile. It's worth clicking a few clicks. It's worth sharing a few, posts or whatever to get a couple of thousand tokens of something that may be worth thousands of a cent now or 100,000 of a cent now, but maybe it'll be worth a penny one day. And then what? If you got a couple thousand of those and you hold on to them until they're worth a penny, you might be doing really well, right? There's a lot of tokens doing those kind of things. And now is the time we're seeing more of that, right? We're seeing action and excitement in the market. We're seeing YouTubers like the Crypto Lark. He's putting out videos or asking the questions and looking at whether or not indeed, because we're seeing Bitcoin futures, seeing record volumes, and is the price news the thing that's luring retail investors back into crypto markets? When folks like that who have pretty decent sized audiences in the crypto market are starting to talk again. I mean, he's not a pessimist about crypto. Let's just be straight. Let's just be direct about that. He loves crypto. Obviously, he's the Crypto Lark. But when you're seeing this kind of explanation from somebody who is optimistic about it, that it is, in fact, that we're seeing the price news luring the retail investors back to crypto markets, remember, it's always the price news for what people call the dumb money, right? I hate that term, right? It's not the dumb money. It's such an offensive term. But the money, the retail money, that's really what they mean. Retail investors. I don't know why, I know why they call it the dumb money, but it's not an appropriate term. When you see retail investors coming back in, and we are starting to see that. Now, the initial spike of a week ago when Bitcoin jumped from 4 to 5K was not retail investors, right? We all know that, right? It was institutionals or whales or something at a very high level that did that. Retail investors, however, woke up the next morning and read that and saw a 20% gain in Bitcoin on the main page of whatever newspaper or show they were watching or reading, or podcast they were listening to, and they were immediately of the mind that this is a good time to look at Bitcoin, right? Those who had an interest in it before. Those who are completely burned out, they don't want anything to do with it. They're not coming back until it's worth 270, and then they'll buy it, and then it'll crash, and then they'll be upset again. I don't know. There's a lot of people who are burned out of crypto. I get it. It's not for everyone, but it will be. So it's kind of like you should, especially if you know about it, you should be looking, even if you got terribly burned before, because there is a serious likelihood we will be trading in cryptocurrencies within the next 5 to 10 years. The evidence is so massively strong, right? We are seeing things like suggestions that entire political movements, right, as big as Brexit, which is not an easy task, should be in fact tracked and managed on the blockchain for the purposes of efficiency, expediency, effectiveness, right? And keeping governments accountable. Because by using the blockchain, you could have customs track everything on cross-border supply chain networks. You could have legal certainty. You could have, questions of sovereignty. You could have questions of anything you want, right? Solved by an immutable record, right? And you're seeing suggestions like this come from, writers, right? Pindar Wong on CoinDesk, right? Not a minor little publication in the cryptosphere, right? I mean, the blockosphere knows CoinDesk, and they're letting articles like this come up. I think I saw this even on their front page. But I've seen this across, pointed to on a bunch of other crypto news sites. We're seeing the discussion of provenance. We're seeing the discussion of how do you withdraw and verify properly that everything is working correctly as it should, whether or not they have a proper agreement. The blockchain could be, in fact, very useful for making the entire process more manageable and less friction ridden. And one particular, here's a rule, here's a rule from a rule book. The top of the rule book should read, okay, quote, "No one is above the law, no nation below mathematics." And I like that. No nation is below mathematics. Right. Mathematics is universal is the point. I like that. Like while we're not above the law, we all can benefit from math, right? And math really is cross-border, cross-language, cross-everything. It is a universal language, right? Like music, right? That's why they're very connected as well if you look at them in different ways. But mathematics is, in fact, the thing that will lead this market forward. It's not hype as much as we all invest in making it if we're in marketing. It is ultimately mathematics, and that's the power of this entire revolution, is that it rests on science, right? However, marketing makes a huge difference for the companies working in the space that deal with managing acquisition and growth. So how can you use Bitcoin? How can you use the blockchain when, to your benefit as a business? Well, I would argue that when you have things like Brexit at play and under discussion about relation with the blockchain, or when you have, for example, Bitcoin hitting the #1 spot trending on Baidu, right, which is basically, people call it China's Google, but it's a massive network, digital network in China, more than just China's Google, right? They reach 2 billion users just in China. Like, that's massive. There is no other place on earth, right, that has anything like that for a single country, obviously. And they're looking at a huge number of search engine queries for the word Bitcoin. It's the #1 search. And guess what? It's also been spiking on Google itself, right? And we also see a higher volume of searches, like I said, on Google search, on Google Trends. Generally speaking, people have a higher interest in what's going on in the market. Why? Well, because the higher the prices go, naturally speaking, the more the media talk about it, especially when the prices spike, right? They always go for that. And then that drives some interest, and then that gets some action. But you as a marketer can't get stuck in that day to day. You have to be situationally aware of what's going on in the short term, but also long term aware of how this fits into your strategy. Because if you get caught up in the day to day price action, it's going to destroy your marketing plan, right? Your strategy should be detached entirely from price action, but aware. Because if you're not aware of the price action, you can miss things like the spike when there is a huge run in interest and when you can capitalize on acquisition by, for example, running more search ads, running more social ads, pushing out more organic work. Of course, organic work is hard to do reactively, but there are ways to do that. And if you listen to any of my, if you're one of my clients or if you're in one of my private courses, then of course you would know about that. Or if you've also downloaded any of our free ebooks where we discuss that particular strategy, you can definitely do that. So check out our site where you can find that. The link is in the description, right? And bear that in mind as you're making your acquisition moves, right? That being situationally aware, right? Like, yeah, you might not be interested in watching a trading show. I get it. Like, it's really not for everybody, right? But if you're marketing and you're trying to get the word out, the timing for it, couldn't be better than now, right? Because you can take advantage, even with organic, if you have reactive organic pages, but definitely with paid ads, definitely with email marketing. Definitely with social ads, if you're good at them. If you're not, avoid them like the plague because they will destroy your budget. If you know how to advertise, this is a good time to be doing it. And again, not financial advice. This is marketing strategy, right? Advanced marketing strategy. This is a time you got to be aware. Like, I don't care if the market has bottomed out or not. I really don't care. And nor should you, or neither should you as a marketer. You should just be aware there has been significant price action in the past year, 14 months, whatever, since the highs to the lows we have reached. And whether we have reached the lows or not, whether the actual lows are printed, that doesn't matter. We've gone down 85, 90%, in some cases 99.9%. How much lower can it go, right? So it doesn't really matter. If it drops from where it is now at 5K, roughly, Bitcoin, if it drops to even 1K, it doesn't really matter, right? It won't last at 1K. You need to understand that as a marketer. There's no way price action of Bitcoin will sit at 1K. There is no way. People who are heavy into crypto have buy orders set for much higher than that, and will be very happy to buy at much higher prices than that. They will gladly buy up way before it hits 1,000. And if it does hit 1,000, somehow they will buy everything available. There are big whales waiting for that kind of accident and price action to happen. And it would be an accident because there is no way that Bitcoin currently has a value, really, of less than $1,000, in my opinion, as a marketer. As a marketer. And I say that because just as a store of value, it has thousands of dollars of value. Why? Because the people that hold it believe it does. Right? And they keep holding it, the big whales. Even if they buy and sell and whatever, they keep holding huge stacks of Bitcoin. And they keep acquiring more Bitcoin. Why? You think they want to hold something that's worthless? The moment they think it's worthless, they'll dump it, right? They don't think it's worthless, and it won't be worthless as long as whales who have huge stacks don't think it's worthless. It really can't. I mean, I know theoretically the price, of course, could go down because if somebody decides to sell a Bitcoin for $1,000 on the market and somebody buys it, then technically we've had a price action of $1,000. Just as likely as if some fool with billions of dollars decides to mess with everybody's head and decides to just buy one for $1 million, right? Could happen as a prank. I know it sounds crazy, and who would do that? But there's got to be somebody out there. You know there's people who've done $1 million pranks and multi-million-dollar ridiculous things. So why wouldn't somebody do that at some point in history? It is a possibility. I'm not saying it will. I'm not even suggesting that it's likely. I'm just saying it's a possibility that you can't just discount. So that's why you shouldn't be concerned about price action, right? A marketer has to be much more concerned about the longer strategy. And you have to be situationally aware to know, okay, there is a growing interest. But it's like the rising tide. It comes and goes, right? It rises and then it descends again, unless it has enough strength to keep growing until it reaches the shore where it crashes, right? Waves come and go, you know. So don't be overexcited by what's going on with the extra surge. Yes, it's good for you as a marketer, and yes, it's time to capitalize on it. But don't think that this is the crazy parabolic thing happening, that's starting to happen right now. It very likely isn't. And even if it is, your plan should be in place, prepared to take advantage of it. If it is, right? Your plan should cover all possibilities. If you have slow growth for the long term, if you have medium growth for the long term, or if you have high growth for the long term. And same for the short term, right? And medium term. You need to have those time possibilities segmented. Just make an easy, 9-point graph or a spreadsheet with 9 cells filled out. Just highlighting what are the different strategies and tactics you would apply in each of these different time frames. And don't be by the minute about it. But if you can be on a high level about it in terms of strategies and on a very low level about it in terms of tactics, that's great. Now, for the summary part of that, you would want to make a chart that doesn't have all of the details, obviously, but when you dig one level deeper to, let's say, the tactics details, you should see your daily tactics planned out for the next year. And always keep that current so that you're always a year ahead. And always do what you're doing today a year ahead of the last thing on your task list. That running tab of knowing what you're doing for the next year on a tactical level, on a day-to-day level, is extremely efficient, right? If you don't have something like that you do, that you keep a running tab of things you're doing now and for the next year on a daily level, it's going to be very hard for you to manage significant scalable growth for your company, right? Of course, you're not going to know every last detail, but there are some things you know you will be doing, or you should be doing, to reach certain goals. And I'm not talking about putting in routine tasks, right? I'm saying things you need to do to achieve your goals, the steps you need to do to achieve your goals. Those are the things you should be putting in your calendar, effectively your task list, on a daily level for the next year. 3 months is okay, 6 months is fine, 9 months is, decent, a year is ideal. 3 months minimum, right? But a year, really. Plan to do that. Now, I've gone on a long time about this already, so I'm just going to end it here and remind you all as marketers that, you want to stay focused and stay driven and stay motivated. So one of the ways to do that, of course, is to stay updated on how you are marketing. And to do that, I recommend memes. No, I'm just kidding. To do that, I recommend, of course, subscribing to my channel. So if you're on my channel or any of my videos, by all means, hit that subscribe button, like I said at the beginning, and hit the bell notification icon. And what have you thought of this video? I'd love to hear from you. Please leave comments below. Let us know what you think we missed or what we think we should add. shout out to all the YouTubers I named in this particular video. Thanks for all the great content you make. I didn't mention all of them, but there you go. Whew. Anyway, folks, thanks for listening. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you gained something useful and insightful from what I've said today. If you have, please come again, enjoy, and of course, tell your friends and colleagues. Tell them to check it out. So that's going to do it for now, folks. And thanks again. Until next time, take care.